For folks who might be a little new to city council meetings, I'm going to walk through how to join this meeting from our agenda and find our agenda on our website right now. So the first thing you'll do is come to the City of Missoula's website. Google's probably your friend here to find us. In the middle of the page, there's a meetings button. And if you click on the meetings button, it'll take you to Agenda Central for all of our public meeting agendas. And tonight is November 29th. So we'll come down here and you can see that there's a city council meeting. Starts here in a few minutes. And you click that open and you can see that there are two hyperlinks here next to agenda. And if you click on one of them, I'm going to click on PDF. The agenda opens. I'll make that a little bigger for folks watching. Maybe keep it on screen here. But at the top of our agenda, there is date, time, and place meeting. It's being held via Zoom webinar. And there's a hyperlink right at the top. This is attend by computer. If you click that link to join the meeting, you'll be joining us. You want to join by telephone. There are phone numbers on the agenda, as well as the webinar ID and the passcode that you need to access the meeting. If you just want to watch us tonight, we are streaming live on our YouTube channel, and we're also streaming on our website. So if you just want to watch the meeting, you can click this video button here. You won't be in the actual Zoom webinar, so there won't be an opportunity for you to comment if you just watch using this link. If you'd like to comment tonight, click on either the HTML or the PDF links that are showing on your screen right now. And I think that's what I'm going to stop there and let us get underway here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's 6 o'clock, and I will call the Missoula City Council meeting of November 29th to order. Pardon me. For the record, it would appear that all council members are present with the exception of Mr. Von Mossberg, Mr. Hess, Ms. Becerra, and Ms. Merritt. And we'll keep an eye out for any of those who may be arriving late. We have of the meeting of 11:15, November 15th. Without objection, they'll be approved. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to our schedule of committee meetings, and I will note for the record that Ms. Merritt is here. Ms. Rabine.
Thanks, Marion. Hang on just a second here and I'll share my screen. I want to get the committee schedule up first, make it bigger, and then go to it. All right, here we go.
I'll also note that Ms. Becerra is.
Okay, here we go with the committee schedule. So City Council this evening is setting up our committee meetings for the 1st of December. That's this coming Wednesday. Just like this meeting, they're being held by a Zoom webinar. And folks can find those meeting agendas from the meetings button on our website. The way to navigate to that is from the city's main homepage. Click on this meetings button. A little calendar pops up. This is a little tricky because calendar says that there's December 1st, but the meetings for some reason aren't showing on that date. You actually have to change the calendar to December 1st. That one tripped me up on Friday when we publish these agendas in order to see the meetings that are scheduled for December 1st. As we mentioned at the top of the show, by clicking into the agenda, you can see the links to join the meetings and participate. Let's talk a little bit about what's coming up on our committee meetings for this December 1st. The Administration and Finance Committee is meeting for an hour and 10 minutes in the morning from 9 o'clock until 10:10. There are some agenda items related to computer room technology for both the court and the city at large. Reappointments to the Urban Transit District, which is commonly known as Mountain Line. There's amendments to the fee schedule for business licenses and contract with the Poverello Center. Public Works Committee will follow that beginning at 10:25 and going until 11:05. The City Public Works and Mobility Department will be presenting their manual and specifications for construction in the public right of way, utility construction in particular, I believe. And the Parks and Conservation Committee will follow from 11:20 until 11:30, just considering an appointment to the Conservation District. It is appointment season in December here at the city of Missoula. And finally, the Public Safety and Health Committee will meet from 11:45 to 11:55, and they will be also taking up an appointment to the Policy Board. And that looks like that's our committees this week. Thanks, Marion.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. Any changes to the committee schedule this evening? All right, seeing none, we will move on to the public comment portion of our agenda. I am going to take the unusual step with a little indulgence from council to provide some context for what I suspect are some of the comments we'll get tonight. There's been considerable ado associated with a person who is apparently among the investors in a project that is slated for the old Missoulian property. I have only heard those comments. I tried my best to avoid the toxicity of social media. But do read your emails and listen to your voicemails when they come in. And just wanted to provide a little context. First, rezoning of that property has been done. That rezoning request came from Lee Enterprises, the owner of the Missoulian, and expanded that use. The prior zoning only allowed for a newspaper to operate at that site. And when council approved the rezoning, it created opportunities for redevelopment. The council's decision wasn't based on who might be the developer. That was, I think, largely unknown at that time, nor, frankly, should it have an effect on their decision. Moving forward, I can't tell you whether the transaction is done, whether the folks whose or the gentleman whose remarks created upset will complete a project there. But I can tell you that neither I nor the council get to pick and choose who does development. And that's a function of state law and private property rights. I can tell you that as that project moves forward, if there is public investment in any form, the city, I and staff, with the concurrence of council, would do our best to find a public benefit there. If that benefit doesn't exist, we likely wouldn't invest in that. But our ability to shape the project, to provide affordability, to affect design beyond what's on the books today in terms of zoning is limited. It is when we start to make an investment that we have an opportunity to negotiate. And if we have that opportunity, I promise you that we will do everything we can to consider broad public benefit in the project in exchange for our participation. That participation isn't required, nor is it guaranteed. And it's certainly something that if we don't see the benefit, it's pretty easy to walk away from. So I hope that provides some context. I certainly hear the upset and appreciate that folks have reached out, but I did think it was important that folks know that despite what you may have read on social media, my magic wand does not allow for me to pick and choose who buys and sells. Unless we are a property owner. And in this case, we're not. My hope is that we can get a project that makes sense for the community, that has community benefit, and provides much needed housing in this community, both at market rate, and my hope would be affordable as well. That affordability would have everything to do, again, with us bringing something to bear on the project. So that is the context. And with that, I am happy to open it up for public comment. I would ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. And I just need to open the right window here. And Mr. Larson.
Yes, Matt Larson, Ward 3. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Good to see everyone here today. Glad to hear that pretext or framing from the mayor. Unfortunately, we cannot get out of the deal that we have with Kohlberg West's other project, the Reed. And this is a classic example of where we did kind of fudge everything here. And I just want to recognize everyone that's on this call, on this Zoom meeting, as being responsible for this 125-foot monstrosity. And also acknowledge that 65 feet was crazy enough for 750 people from the University District when the Reed was being approved. So just seeing this all transpire, I just hate to say, but I told you so. And now we're involved with a realtor who has ethical infractions before, and may have acted in this transaction as the realtor. So yeah, we're gonna talk to the realty organization of Missoula and of Montana and talk about ethical violations again with this same realtor. And we're just waiting for engineering firms and local real estate agents to come and have a statement of any kind, disavowing the canyonization of the riverfront, and disavowing transphobic comments by developers, by construction companies, by everyone that we deal with on a local, daily, day-to-day basis. And there will be representatives from some of these real estate agencies on city council come the new year. And we just want to see and hear what you guys are doing so that this doesn't happen again. But thank you for allowing me to speak. I'll be speaking on the claims and other stuff later. Thank you.
And Next, I have someone identified as NMS, and if you would please give us your name for the record, I would be grateful. Hello, person identified as NMS. All right, we're not hearing you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we could hear you. Thank you.
You can hear me?
We can now, yes.
Okay, my name is Nathan, Nathan Stevens, Stephen's. I live
Thank
in
you.
Ward 5. I'm a multi-generational Missoulian with parents on both sides that have lived here for generations. I think the city council might be missing the point about people being upset about this. It's really a lack of community control over real estate development. That's precisely what Missoula citizens are complaining about. And other cities do that. And for some reason, Missoula doesn't want to. You know, it's really disheartening as someone who grew up here and has seen my brothers and sisters have to move away because of economic and housing issues, to have to deal with developers speaking about my community in this way. You know, anti-LGBT, misogynistic comments. I mean, this is outrageous what has been said about our community, and we're going to allow them to build here. I mean, my God, what are you allowing to happen in our city? This is wrong. It is absolutely wrong. And you have two people that are on the planning board that allowed this 125 feet monstrosity to happen that you're going to put, you're putting back up to be voted on tonight. Come on, put some new blood in there. This is wrong and you know it. Do something.
Thank you. And Dave Morris, please.
Hello, my name is Dave Morris. I'm a resident of Missoula. Thanks to the council and the mayor for allowing me to speak. I'm not talking about the Missoulian building. I want to talk about the 100% clean energy resolution that the council and the mayor have supported. And specifically, I hear that there is a budget resolution that includes funding for a clean energy specialist. And I would strongly urge the council and the mayor to approve that part of the budget. It's essential to our response to climate change. And that's really what I have to say.
Thank you very much. And Valan Anthos.
You guys hear me? Hello?
Hello, we can
Hear
hear you.
Okay, sorry.
You're fine.
Yeah, my name is Valan Anthos. I'm a resident here. I'm also here to speak about the 100% clean energy resolution that you all passed, and just to really here to voice my support and also, again, support of the funding and the advisory committee that I think is either already being formed or has formed, and that I think it's very important that there's a lot of community input on that agreement. And this resolution is really essential to the health and the values of our community, and that it's important we have realistic, tangible, and trackable progress on this resolution. So it's not just an empty resolution. And in particular, I would want to urge the city to ensure that the agreement made with Northwestern Energy is much stronger than the draft plan, and includes a lot more new renewable construction and does not make clean energy an unaffordable niche market here in Missoula. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And any additional general public comment this evening? All right, seeing no virtual hands, we will move on to our consent agenda. Items listed on that consent agenda were approved unanimously in council committees. And we save a little time on Monday evenings by considering these items all at once. Ms. Rabine will read the list of consent agenda items aloud so that folks participating in the meeting or watching on MCAT will know what we're considering, and we'll take comment before we vote. Ms. Rabine.
Thanks, Mayor Egan. Hang on just a second here, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger on my screen. Share it. All righty, let's take a look at the consent agenda tonight. It looks like we have 12 items on tonight's consent agenda. And the first item, as always, is to pay the city's bills. City Council didn't meet last week, so the first item is to ratify the bills or accounts payable that were paid last week in the amount of $2,075,367.44 for checks that were dated November 23rd of 2021. Number 2 is to approve accounts payable in the amount of $455,144.65 for checks that are dated tomorrow, November 30th, 2021. Number 3, although a quorum wasn't present, the Parks and Conservation Committee is recommending that City Council confirm the mayor's appointment of Aaron Castellanos to the Parks and Recreation Board for a term that begins immediately and expires on April 30th of 2023. Number 4 is to confirm the mayor's appointment of Aaron Montgomery to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Board for a term beginning immediately and expiring on September 30th of 2022. Number 5 is to award the bid for the Cooper Street Alley Water Main Replacement Project to Prospect Construction Incorporated for an amount not to exceed $1,013,580.50 and authorize the return of bid bonds. Number 6 is to appoint Ross Miller for the regular member position on the Health Board beginning on January 1st of 2022 and ending on March 31st of 2025. Number 7 is to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a contract with NeoGov for employee recruitment and onboarding software. It's tracking software in the amount of $5,000 for fiscal year 22, $460.80, for fiscal year 2023, and $21,460.80 for fiscal year 2024. Number 8 is to authorize the mayor to sign the contract with Missoula County for relationship violence services in the amount of $184,165. Number 9 is to adopt a resolution of intention to annex and incorporate within the boundaries of the city of Missoula 3 tracts of land that are located at 3519, 3721, and 3723 Grant Creek Road, legally described as Book 1020, page 253, Books 960, page 1011, and Book 1040, page 253 in the northwest corner, it says in the northwest of the northwest of section 8, township 13 north, range 19 west, principal meridian, Montana, and zone upon annexation, zoning the property upon annexation to the M1-2, which is a limited industrial zoning district based on the findings of fact in the staff report and subject to recommended conditions of annexation approval. Council is also this evening setting a public hearing for next week on December 6, 2021. Following next week's meeting, they'll be taking this up and referring this to the Land Use and Planning Committee and talking about it in more depth on December 8th, 2021. Number 10 is to reappoint Shane Morrissey and Ellie Costello as regular members and Sierra Farmer as an alternate to the Missoula Consolidated Planning Board for a term that begins January 1st of 2022 and ends on March 31st of 2025. Number 11 is to set a public hearing on December 6, 2021 to consider an amendment to the Our Missoula City Growth Policy to include the Envision West Broadway Community Master Plan as an amendment to the Downtown Missoula Master Plan. Following the public hearing on the 6th, the item will be referred off to the Land Use and Planning Committee for a debate, discussion, or presentation on December 8th of 2023. And then finally, number 12 is to adopt a resolution delaying the date of contract sewer petition annexations of properties that provided sewer service pursuant to an interlocal agreement with the East Missoula County Sewer District until at least January 1st of 2034.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. Questions or comments on the consent agenda from council members? Seeing none.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I think I had my hand up. I'm not sure, but I just wanted to divide the question and vote on 5.1 and 5.2 separately due to Mount Water legal bills.
We can do that, sir.
Thank you.
All right, with that, anyone in the audience care to comment? Mr. Larson.
Yes, Matt Larson, Ward 3. Thank you again for letting me speak. I was wondering about the cart clean expenditure for $37,000 on the first claims items over $1,000. This was not unanimously approved at the committee meeting, and it just kind of magically appeared on these claims. It's a large chunk of change, and it's totally another example of how we're spending down the road, but we can use like bedding at the warming structure on Johnson Street, for instance. We don't need this superfluous technology, which we heard about from a compound pharmacist at the committee meeting, which was why it was not unanimous. And it's a Washington company. It's a foreign LLC. So we are essentially lied to, or at least misled by Chief White, who told us that it was a Montana company through and through. It's in fact owned by an insurance CEO guy out of Washington and his son, who used to play on the Grizz, and then here we are again, just getting back to this common theme of like kickbacks to like just Grizz superstars, and just what's going on with this UV sanitation technology that we've determined by professionals who called in and took the time to call in like Ms. Tripp did. What's going on with that? Why is that being purchased behind our backs and against the whole like structure of city council and the committees and all that? Why is this going on behind the scenes? What happened there? Thank you.
All right. Nothing going on behind the scenes, all out in full public disclosure. Seeing no additional comments from the audience, we will have a roll call vote on items 5.1 and 5.2.
Mr. Mayor, I actually had my hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Anderson?
While Ms. Rabine gets us ready for our votes, I did want to comment on the contract that the mayor is signing, or actually we already did that. It's been claimed. It went through committee. It came before the council. As our due process is, it was in committees on last Monday night, and it was voted on unanimously by all members of the council after the questions that were brought up in committee were answered satisfactorily. And that is our due process, all above board. And just because you miss a Monday night may mean that you're not fully tracking on things. Thanks so much.
Ms. Rabine.
Thanks, Mayor Engen. So we'll do the vote on items 5.1 and 5.2, which are the accounts payable first. Anderson,
Yes.
Becerra,
Yes.
Contos,
No.
Harp,
Yes.
and just double checking. Yes. Jones,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yes.
Ramos,
No.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Vasika,
No.
and West.
Yes.
Alrighty, would any of you like to change your vote? That is 7 ayes, 3 nays, and 2 absent.
And on the remains of the consent agenda, please.
Okay, on the balance of the consent agenda, Becerra,
Yes.
Contos,
Yes.
Harp,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Vasika,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
and Anderson.
Yes.
And would any of you like to change your vote? That is 10 ayes and 2 absent.
Thank you. And the consent agenda is approved. We have no comments from staff, agencies, boards, commissions, nor the community forum this evening. We do have one special presentation in the form of a proclamation. Whereas in 1988, the World Health Organization recognized the first World AIDS Day on December 1st to raise awareness of the AIDS pandemic caused by the spread of HIV infection and to mourn the loss of those who have died from the disease. And whereas in 1989, in response to the worsening AIDS crisis and coinciding with the World Health Organization's second annual World AIDS Day, Visual AIDS organized the first Day Without Art. And whereas annually, this day serves as a call for mourning and action in response to the ongoing HIV and AIDS crisis globally, celebrates the lives and achievements of lost colleagues and friends, encourages caring for all people with AIDS, educates diverse publics about HIV infection, and advances the work of finding a cure. And whereas June 2021 marked the 40th anniversary of the first cases reported in the United States of what would later become known as AIDS, a disease that has killed tens of millions of people to date. And whereas there are currently more than 1.2 million people in the US and more than 38 million worldwide living with HIV, and whereas the City of Missoula Public Art Committee will once again join Visual AIDS in a Day Without Art by shrouding some public works of art throughout the town in black sheets with red ribbons to bring attention and action to the ongoing global health crisis. Now, therefore, I, Jennings, and Mayor of the City of Missoula in the state of Montana, hereby recognize the first day of December 2021 as a Day Without Art. And I understand we have a couple of folks with us this evening to talk a little bit about a Day Without Art. And Devin.
Yes, hello, thank you. My name is Devin Carpenter, and I am here just as a member of the Missoula community who's working in collaboration with the Western Montana Community Center and various other organizations in town. Andy Nelson is joining us on YouTube today, so I'm not sure if he's able to comment, but he is also here and is the main collaborator. But I just wanted to thank you, the Public Arts Committee of the City of Missoula, for being so easy to work with to bring this event back to Missoula. I understand it's happened here in the past. And so we just felt this year being the 40th anniversary feels like the wrong word, but the 40th anniversary of those first cases in the US, it's just an important thing to continue bringing recognition and action to the community. And we're really excited to be able to partner with the city as well as some other organizations, the Missoula Art Museum, the Montana Museum of Arts and Culture, the University Center Gallery, the Gay Health Task Force, and I'm sure I missed a couple. We're also doing a film screening of the visual aids. They create a series of documentary shorts every year and have been doing that for years. And so we'll be showing that on Thursday night, the 2nd. And the Western Montana Community Center will also be hosting a First Friday Art Gallery showing of archival images of the HIV and AIDS movement here in Missoula, Montana through the years. And so there's information on all those events on our Facebook page, which is A Day Without Art, Missoula. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Appreciate your work here and appreciate the work of everyone involved in this commemoration. Appreciate it very much. We will move on to the public hearing portion of our agenda. State law and our own council rules set guidelines for inviting community comment in a formal way on a variety of issues. We'll have a staff report this evening, and pardon me, following that, council and I will invite comment. Council will keep its public hearing open for a week and consider this item after the public hearing is closed at the beginning of the December 6th council meeting. Our lone public hearing this evening is on an ordinance amending our municipal code with regard to the establishment of a residency requirement. And our staff report comes this evening from Ms. Simonson.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council. Share my screen here. Thank you. As Mayor Engen said, I'm here this evening to discuss Ordinance 2.82, which was established in 2013, requiring city limit residency requirements for certain positions. I want to give you a bit of history of this ordinance. It was passed in 2013. Through my research, because I was not with the city at that time, the minutes from that council meeting, or excuse me, those meetings leading up to the passage of this ordinance indicate that there was an interest based on other Montana cities considering the same action. And that in fact was true at the time. However, as of November 2021, no major Montana city has such requirements. Comments from one council person during that time, and I quote, said, "It just requires that the people that create and enforce city policy actually live under that city policy." There's fault in that statement. City council is the policy-making body, not necessarily staff. The involvement in creation of policy procedures is always in the best interest of the organization and the community, and never in the best interest of the employee who may be proposing a policy to be approved by council. I would say that the employees at all levels within the city are dedicated public servants, and they understand the need to be selfless. And the final point when we look at history is that this ordinance grandfathered in existing staff holding the positions that are listed, and all staff hired prior to the ordinance passing. Newly hired staff are as equally dedicated to serving the city as these grandfathered staff are. When looking at my request to repeal and replace this particular ordinance, I'm coming at it from a risk standpoint. There are 4 areas of risk that have been identified in keeping the ordinance as it is. The first is centers around recruitment. Recent director level candidates have expressed concern over this requirement. And we need to be able to reduce barriers for attracting and retaining top talent in this very tight market. The next identified risk is retention. So we have current qualified staff who cannot apply unless they choose to move into city limits. So some of those individuals are in deputy positions or assistant chief positions, and we would not be able to even allow them to apply under the current ordinance. The third risk that I identified is regarding diversity and inclusion, and this is really important to me. I believe that the city needs to welcome employees with all values or lifestyle choices, and by requiring an individual to live within the city limits, we are putting barriers around what those lifestyle choices might be, or excluding individuals, for example, who may enjoy a rural lifestyle, raising livestock and whatnot. And we're requiring individuals at this level to make a choice between family values and their career. And finally, the justification, or I should say, the ordinance, the reasons for passing this ordinance in 2013 lack justifiable reasoning. When we look at national research from ICMA, which is an organization of city management association for nationwide, for municipalities, there are common residency requirements. Arguments for requirements. One is the commitment to position. However, through that research, there's been no nexus to the level of commitment and residency. The next is that employees who are employees who are grandfathered under this ordinance continue to live outside the city limits, and yet they continue to remain as committed as ever. The next common argument is that when individuals at this level in employment are within the city limits, they better understand issues that the municipality is taking on. Again, there is no nexus to the comprehension of issues and residency. Top level personnel need to be professionals committed to doing their absolute best to improve the lives of those that they serve. And finally is response time. That may be true for our first responders, but department heads do not respond to emergencies. Ultimately, the research has indicated that this is a management issue and not a residency issue. We use very thorough screening tools during our hiring process to assess values and commitment to serving the city. And if a director were ever hired and not able to fulfill those requirements, then the mayor and the CAO have tools to help manage this issue. And that is why I say that it is a management issue and not a residency issue. Residency will not fix issues with competency. The recommended revisions would create an ordinance that included only senior leadership, and that would be those who report directly to the mayor's office. And here on the screen, you can see the list of those positions. This would remove positions that currently exist on the list that report to boards, rather than reporting directly to the mayor's office. And it would also remove any staff level positions. So rather than being a director, we do have a few positions that are in management level. And we also have some positions that are missing altogether. So the new ordinance would include only the senior leadership team. And rather than requiring them to live within the city limits, we would require that they live within a 45-minute drive of city limits. This helps to ensure us that they still have a physical connection to the city of Missoula while giving more choice in their lifestyle or their values. And then it would set an expectation for a reasonable response time should a last minute meeting occur or a natural disaster or something like that, where the mayor would need his senior leadership team to be present. So I am here today asking that after public hearing that council adopt an ordinance amending Municipal Code Chapter 2.28 entitled Establishment of Continuous Residency Requirements for City Senior Leadership Team. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Simonson. And with that, I will open the public hearing. Anyone in our attendee list care to comment this evening? Mr. Larson.
Yes, Matt Larson, Ward 3. Thanks for allowing me to speak again. Really was hoping to see Jordan Hess here at this meeting, seeing as how he's the only person on city council that rents. I think it really is a perspective of the governing class and the people like this on their ivory towers and the people that operate and live and work within the city. I just want to remind the city council, like myself, I've had to change my voter registration even to engage the city council. So it just, I don't know. it just really doesn't rub me the right way when this type of legislation or ordinance comes through. Why did we make this in 2013, and what has changed except the housing market here? And you make your bed and you lay in it, and that's what's going on with the housing market right now. So and there's been a bunch of people grandfathered in and blah blah blah, and it's hard to find their successors. I say, there's a reason we passed this, and we're not like any other cities in Montana. So we shouldn't look to them and their studies to guide us, because we are a unique place. And, thanks for allowing me to talk. Bye.
And seeing no additional hands up in the attendees, I will note for the record that Mr. Hess was delighted to purchase his own home. And I would also tell you that Mr. Hess is as committed to renters as he is homeowners, as we all are. Questions or comments from council members? All right, seeing none, this public hearing will remain open for the week, and we will move on to items for final consideration. These, pardon me, these items were all considered by the City Council as a function of public hearing, and this evening they will take final action on the items before them, and we'll take comment on these items as well. Our first item this evening is on a resolution amending the fiscal year 22 budget. And we had a staff report on that last week, and I would entertain a motion, Ms. Jones.
Thank you. I would like to make the recommended motion, which is that we adopt a resolution amending the annual appropriations for the city of Missoula, Montana, as set forth in the fiscal year 2021 budget and capital improvement program. And I would like to speak to that, if I may.
Ms. Jones.
Thank you. So we had an extensive presentation on this in committee, and then when we opened the public hearing, and the great majority of this, frankly, are budget carry forwards or budget transfers, as we just do housekeeping to keep all of our accounting in order. But the specific thing I wanted to note was the budget amendment for the clean energy specialist. We did allocate money last summer in the budget for more capacity to implement our climate change policies. There was a lot of work spent last spring and summer, but we just didn't quite carry the football over into the end zone. And we wanted to have an FTE, and it just took a little bit more staff time to really pull it together. So that's what we're doing now, and I'm thrilled with this. I was glad to hear some public comment earlier, actually in the meeting, regarding support for this. I think it's great. We talk a lot about housing, and climate change is also just a huge issue. So I am glad that we're creating some more capacity to really implement our clean energy policies that we have in place. So I'm very much in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, anyone in the audience care to comment on motion?
I think Ms. Merritt was trying to comment.
I'm sorry, Ms. Merritt, for some reason, I am not seeing hands this evening. I don't
we
know
should
what
just
about.
do this
Yeah,
tonight.
or just yell at me. I'm accustomed. Yes, please, Ms. Merritt.
Thank you. I am fully in support of these budget amendments, especially the amendment to provide the FTE for the climate specialist. The discussion about the need to add capacity to our climate office came up during the budget season. And I know Councilman von Lossberg was leading in that discussion. And unfortunately, he's not here tonight due to some family issues. But so I wanted to thank him and
Councilwoman Jones for their leadership on making sure that that we do get that additional capacity. Of course, I think we could probably use a lot more, but it is really a good step in the right direction, and I fully support it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Anderson.
Okay, apparently the waving works. Ms. Merritt brought up an excellent point. I want to echo it, that it is, hats off to so many people who worked to bring this to light and to champion for this. And I think we all recognize that climate change is an issue that is not just at the boundaries of the city of Missoula, but what are the steps that we at the city of Missoula can take to address this. And I think that this increased capacity will definitely help with that. And it's just one of the many steps that we need to be taking, and I'm happy to support it, and do want to echo thank you, Mr. Moss, for really being a constant champion for this issue and for us to get this into the budget this last year. And it takes people caring passionately and putting their passion to good use to make things like this happen. So thank you so much, and I'm happy to support.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Anyone else? All right, seeing no virtual nor real hands in the air, move to the audience. And Mr. Larson.
Yes, Matt Larson, Ward 3. I support clean energy too, but I think we should also allocate at this point somebody for budget transparency within the city, and somebody that can actually provide like a capital assets list of what we own, just like an accounting, a toll, like of what's going on under the hood there. We don't even know what we're financing down the road forever. And we don't know what the legal fees are going to be for this court battle, the 2 court battles regarding the water company. And this is just another thing, another tchotchke that you're adding on at the very last minute to this budget. And this is what people don't like, I think, about their tax bills when it comes to next year, is that we can just buy clean energy on the open market. And there's no real explanation that's been very definitive about like what this specialist actually does. And meanwhile, we're getting these requests for proposals on these solar arrays that we're not even going to own. And the city is just slowly becoming the biggest landlord, the biggest utility, and the biggest consumer of its own niche power here. And that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing for the consumer and the taxpayer. So that's all I have to say. I just don't think that we should be approving this because it just wasn't planned for. And we need to see what's actually being financed down the road forever versus what we actually own here. Thank you.
All right, seeing no additional hands raised, we will have a roll call vote.
Great.
Okay, on the budget amendment, Contos,
Yes.
Harp,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Vasika,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
and Becerra.
Yes.
Would any of you like to change your vote? That is 10 ayes and 2 absent.
And the motion's approved. Our next item for final consideration is rezoning on Schilling Street and Dearborn Avenue. And I'm not sure who is taking that on for Mr. Hess this evening.
I am.
Thank you, Ms. West.
Would you like the motion?
Yes, please.
Okay. The motion is to adopt an ordinance to rezone 2520 Schilling Street and 2134 Dearborn Avenue, located at the northeast corner of the intersection of Schilling Street and legally described as lots 20 through 24 of Carline Edition, Block 34, and lots 18B, 6,286 square feet of lots 17, 18, and 19 of Carleen Edition, number 3, Block 34, all located in Section 32, Township 12 North and Range 19 West, from RM 2.7 multi-dwelling to B2-2 community business. Do we have any staff updates to this one? I don't think we do.
No, that motion is in order. Is there discussion on the motion? If there is, please wave, because technology is not my friend. Ms. Anderson.
Thanks so much, Mr. Mayor. I will be in support of this. It is in Ward 5, and I've had numerous conversations with constituents who brought up the increase of traffic issues that this development may possibly bring. And we heard from Aaron Wilson, who graciously took his time to attend the Land Use and Planning Committee meeting to talk about sort of some of the things. Even though state law does not allow for us to take into consideration traffic mitigation when approving a rezone, I think that we're having long discussions recently about what state law allows and doesn't allow in and around rezoning. But it was a good opportunity to hear from the neighbors, and I think staff did an excellent job of outreach, attended additional meetings, and talked about some of the long-range plans for traffic mitigation in and around this area. So we heard from the developer and what his plans were. He hopes to retire. All of those things also cannot be taken into consideration. It is literally a list of up or down things set out by state law that we can take into consideration. So this meets all of those. It conforms with zoning as staff laid out in its thorough presentation, which is available online to anyone who's interested in it, looking at that. And so with that, I thank you for your time to speak on this, and I will be supporting this rezone.
Further discussion on the motion? All right, I see no actual hands. Anyone in the audience care to comment? Mr. Larson.
Yes, Matt Larson, Ward 3. This is just another instance that we're going to look back at where the entire character of this whole neighborhood is being ripped up via the Title 20 and revisions that have been done in the last year or so by the city council. So you've heard people object to it, and you know, you guys are in this game of approving these types of mega developments and approving them blindly. So it appears as though we'll just keep on going. I know everybody's going to say we need to add housing stock, but it's through, you know, sensible expansion of the city and equitable expansion of the city. Not just throwing in these huge middleman projects like the Scott Street division or the Scott Street subdivision and Northside Bellagio apartments. These are all, you know, they're not built for us, the working class, the people that make below $19 an hour. That's what the city is building currently as affordable housing. So I just don't see why we should approve this. But I'm sure everybody else will say, you know, we need to expand. Why aren't we expanding into East Missoula and Target Range? Why are we just doing this? And changing the character of these classic and, you know, irreplaceable neighborhoods. And like I said, the riverfront, we all saw what just happened with the riverfront over the weekend.
And we're getting a little far afield, Mr. Larson. I have Diane Stensland-Bickers.
Yeah, I'd just like to say I disagree with Matt. I live in this neighborhood. I'm a renter in this neighborhood. I approve of your approval of these plans. I'm looking forward to having more options as maybe a place to rent in this neighborhood. We need more development like this in this neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. And seeing no more hands up, we will have a roll call vote.
Okay, on the ordinance to rezone, Harp.
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Vasika,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Becerra,
Yes.
and Contos.
Yes.
Would any of you like to change your vote? That is 10 ayes and 2 absent.
And the rezoning is approved. Our final items for final consideration this evening are 2 motions on a recreational marijuana ordinance. And Ms. West, you hit the jackpot again.
Yep, I do. All right. So the first motion is to adopt an ordinance, and that would be the draft that's dated from the 18th of this month, generally amending Title 20 Missoula Municipal Code, the city zoning ordinance, to incorporate revisions in the following chapters: 20.10 businesses and commercial districts, 2015 industrial manufacturing districts, 2045 accessory uses and structures, 20.100 terminology, and 20.105 use classifications and creation of 20.083 and use and building specific standards to incorporate regulations concerning legislative changes in the cannabis industry. And if I could speak to this motion.
Ms. West.
Right. Thank you. So first of all, I really want to thank our city staff, especially Ben, Cassie, Spencer, Madsen, and Lee, who pulled together this ordinance in probably record time and put a lot of really a lot of thought and research and intention behind what we're seeing today. I think that this ordinance does a really good job of marrying both the overwhelming support that Missoula County voters had to approve adult use recreational cannabis and also protect the health and well-being of citizens in our community and offer predictability and structure to this new industry in Missoula. So I just want to highlight that there is a 50-foot barrier that exists on the state level that creates a buffer between religious institutions and schools and cannabis businesses. And we were tasked with making, this new law, which was House Bill 701 that was passed this summer, work in our community. And so this provides a framework that I think brings a lot of good things to how we're implementing this. It includes a buffer between businesses, which creates maintains a diverse business environment and doesn't allow for the concentration of cannabis related businesses in a single location. It also has a prohibition on just using frosted glazing. I think that this is in line with other expectations spelled out for our community, especially in the design excellence overlay. I think that there are more creative ways that businesses can protect the privacy of their customers while also creating a street frontage that's inviting and friendly to, a people scale Missoula. And I think that this ordinance does a good job of marrying a light touch with predictability and encourages a diversity of uses within our community that really, supports the long-term health and well-being of our community, both on a people scale and on a neighborhood sustainability level. So I think, I think this ordinance is great.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. West. And the hands are working again. I have Ms. Merritt.
Thank you. Thanks, Heidi. I will be in support of this motion. I also want to say a big thank you to staff. They took a tremendous amount of time researching this and spent time with me to answer my many questions. We really appreciate you. Different communities in our state are handling this differently, and I think that this is a good approach. I really support the proposal that staff has put in front of us, and think it is a good approach for Missoula to take. I think that as time goes on, we'll see how this market regulates itself to some degree, but I think this is a really good framework to start with. So thank you all very much.
And Ms. Vasika.
Thank you. I also wanted to thank staff. I know that they put a lot of time and effort into this, so thank you for doing that. I did want to propose 3 different amendments tonight. I was told to hold off on Wednesday and propose those tonight. So would you recommend me doing them one at a time or put them all 3 out on the table at once?
Why don't you offer them all and we'll consider them one at a time.
Okay. So my first one is I want to omit the regulation to limit frosted windows. The second one is I want to omit the buffer altogether. And I also want to allow home occupation for marijuana growth operations. And should I speak to the first one now?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I understand Ms. West's wanting to have a inviting business neighborhood appearance for businesses. However, on Wednesday, Ms. Harp laid out a lot of my concerns pretty perfectly. Because not only patient or customer privacy, we also would like to have product and business owner privacy. And it shouldn't be up to the government to dictate how transparent a business's glass should be. And it also would protect a lot of children downtown and a lot of folks that are not happy with this, with these new operations. With the marijuana growth industry or with adult stores downtown or even gun and ammo shops or even butcher shops. A lot of folks don't want to look at that stuff. So I think that we should allow to have non-transparent glass in these businesses.
Okay. Ms. Vasika's motion to amend is in order. Is there discussion on the motion? And Ms. Cheryl, you were in order. Did you want to address the, you do not. Ms. Anker, sorry.
I was going to say, I'll address that. I think that all those amendments take pretty much everything out of this, this ordinance. I won't be supporting any of them. I think the staff put a lot of time and thought and research into this, and I won't support any of these amendments. I have another comment, but I'm going to take my hand down because it's more generalized.
And I actually did that for you because I now have control again. Ms. Anderson on the motion to amend.
Thank you, thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. I will not be supporting the motion to amend. I think Ms. West in her opening remarks laid out a lot of the reasons why. One of the reasons why we had a pretty lengthy discussion about buffers between businesses downtown was because of the increase in frosted glass that we're seeing downtown and just sort of like the, deadness that provides to the streetscape. And I think that we spent a lot of businesses can incorporate that. And marijuana will be legal for purchase in Montana come January 1st. So I think a lot of these privacy concerns, it is, we don't really talk about those and in other, alcohol and purchasing of other quote unquote sin products, if you want to put them into that category. And if the owners are concerned about that, then we can address that inside. But I think that we have to take into account the overall effect it has in our community and how downtown is, we're trying to create an inviting atmosphere. And so I will not be in support of omitting this. And I also won't be in support of the other two. I think the buffer is important. And I definitely do not support home businesses. I think that they should be, especially the growing and cultivating of marijuana is not as simple as some of the movies we've all seen make it out to be. There's gases, there's fertilizer, there's lighting, and all of that should be in the appropriate space and not in residential neighborhoods. So I will not be in support of any of these. Thank you so much.
And Ms. Harp on the amendment.
I'm going to support Sandy's amendment when it comes down to the prohibition of non-transparent glass. As she alluded to in my comments a couple of weeks ago, I want to just elaborate on that particular comment a little bit more and my rationale behind it. Last 3 years, I think all of you have become very aware of my my efforts to raise awareness around suicide. Why is it even brought up at this point in time? Because there's definitely a connection between people who may use medical marijuana in order to deal with their mental illness, whether it's depression, anxiety, bipolar, or PTSD, or for that matter, even menopause. And it has for so long been criminalized and has been stigmatized for people who use it for medical purposes. And oftentimes we will use air quotes around medical, thinking that people are just using it recreationally. The reason why I worry about forcing these businesses to have to use transparent glass is that people who already are stigmatized for their mental health already feel like they can't be themselves and they can't have the privacy that they need in order to get the care that they require. And it is one very simple thing that can protect them. I know some of you may disagree with that, but right now, as it stands today, there are two different types of pharmacies, one for all the over-the-counter drugs that your doctor can prescribe as well, and then a separate one for a pharmacy or dispensary for medical marijuana that another type of doctor can provide. And already it's really hard for folks who have mental illness to have to go one more step to have their medical condition exposed to the public. And I know it may not seem like a big thing, but we have for decades created a war on drugs that has incarcerated millions of people, and it has caused many families to fall apart because of those drug arrests. Well, today we're talking about the legalization and being able to let folks be able to obtain the drug of their choice for their specific needs. It is imperative to me that we actually go against the recommendation from staff, which I know they've done a tremendous job of trying to put this all together. So thank you all for doing that. But I want you to understand that with all the folks that I've talked to in the support groups that I meet with, where we have kids who struggle, making them more ashamed of who they are and the facts that they have to face day in and day out. This is one thing that could really actually ease their load, ease their burden. And I would hope that my colleagues can see the sense in that. I've done this for so long, and now is an opportunity to reverse course. So I hope that all of you can see the rationale behind that. In regards to Sandy's recommendation for omitting the buffer requirements, I think 500 feet is reasonable. Having gone to Oregon over this last break, I just want everybody to know there are not dispensaries every 5 feet or anything like that. The market has prevailed, and many of them probably have been eliminated just due to the market. Regarding the home occupation for marijuana related uses, I would support that. I think it's an example of where we have all sorts of different kind of garden growers, fertilizer and the like happens no matter what what kind of product you're trying to grow. And I would support that one as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hart. Ms. West on the motion to amend.
I just had a quick process question. Are we discussing all three amendments right now or just the first?
I would prefer that we just discuss the first, but if you want to knock out all three and you can
Nope,
do
I'm
that
happy
succinctly.
to wait. I was just not unclear based on
Okay.
how the comments are going. Okay, I'll hold.
Sorry about that, folks.
No worries. Ms. Merritt.
Thanks. I just want to be clear that the design excellence overlay that affects the downtown already says that describes the amount of glazing that needs to be on the windows. And so if we were actually to adopt Ms. Vasica's suggestion, we're making an exception for a certain type of business. And I don't think that is acting in a consistent manner. So I won't be supporting the motion. In addition, if we're concerned about kids and the effect that seeing people buying marijuana has on them, we would not allow a marijuana dispensary downtown named Cookies. So I think that just wipes off the table any actual concern about children in this. I think there are other options that people can provide within the stores in order to continue to provide a certain amount of privacy. Liquor stores, bars and restaurants, it's not like you can see every single person who is in the store from the sidewalk. So there are options other than blocking out those windows. And I think that we need to be consistent in applying our standards. Thanks.
All right, seeing no further discussion on the motion to amend, I will note for the record that I had asked staff to include a provision that allowed me to name all of these businesses, but they rejected that and did not bring that forward. I won't propose that as an amendment this evening. Anyone in the audience care to comment on the motion to amend? All right, seeing no hands up there, we'll have a roll call vote on Ms. Vasica's first motion to amend.
Okay, and this is about the allowing the non-transparent windows, correct?
Correct.
Okay, hang on just a second. I'm going to amend what I typed here a little bit. Alrighty, Jones.
No.
Merritt.
No.
Ramos.
Yes.
Cheryl.
No.
Vasica.
Yes.
West.
No.
Anderson.
No.
Becerra.
No.
Contos.
Yes.
And Hart.
Yes.
And would any of you like to change your vote? That is 4 ayes and 6 nays.
And the amendment fails. Ms. Vasica, your second amendment.
Thank you. So this is the amendment to omit the buffer altogether. Like with somebody mentioned earlier, supply and demand, it is poor business practice to put up a shop of any business close to another business of that same type. So we can let supply and demand in the market help with a crowding problem. I also believe it's not up to the government to decide how many legal businesses can be in a certain area. So that is why I would like to omit that buffer altogether.
Ms. Vasica's motion to amend is in order. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none. Anyone in the audience?
Hello.
No, I'm not getting hands again. Sorry. I got Ms. Jones.
Okay. I kind of like doing that. That was kind of fun, actually. So regarding the amendment, thanks for bringing it, Sandra. And I have been chewing on this a lot and thinking about it all last few weeks as we've been hearing all the information coming in from staff. I have to say my inclination was honestly whether or not we should have a larger buffer, not whether we should eliminate the buffer. And at this point, however, I'm fine leaving the buffer at 500. And I'm not in favor of eliminating it. I did just want to say that the thought process I went through in terms of whether we actually should increase the buffer was looking at the saturation of businesses in our downtown and the hip strip and these commercial corridors, and wanting to create a scenario where we have a diverse business environment and not saturated by this exciting new industry that's coming in that is riding a big wave right now. But what became apparent was, just as no buffer is an issue, I think too big of a buffer is also an issue, and frankly could have institutionalized some of the clustering on Higgins that we're actually trying to dissipate. So I am not in favor of the amendment. I'm also not in favor of increasing the buffer at all. I think we've got about the best structure set up as possible, and we need to let the market play out for a couple of years, see where it's at, and then if we need to address it. But I appreciate you bringing the amendment. I feel like there was a lot of really good discussion from council on trying to go through all of this analysis. Thanks.
And Ms. West on the amendment.
Thank you. So I'm also not going to support this amendment, and I, for two reasons. I do think that we're seeing currently with where existing cannabis businesses are located, there is a concentration in certain parts of town, which, you know, if you are walking around with kids, for example, on a first Friday, means that there are several, you know, businesses in a row even that aren't welcoming to everyone, and you can't go into, and it creates a little bit of a, you know, a dead zone depending on, you know, how you're engaging with the built environment. And I think the second reason is to also prevent, you know, future dead zones. I do think that we're going to see an increase in this particular business sector, and it will correct, which means that we're probably going to see some of these businesses fail, and we'll see a different dead zone if we allow them to all be in one place. And so this way it spreads businesses across our community, and also I think removes some of that risk and protects, you know, the character of the built environment over time. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. West. Now I don't see any hands raised. Anyone in the audience care to comment on this amendment? Seeing none, we will have a roll call vote on the motion to amend.
Okay, this is the motion about omitting the required buffers. And I think we are at Merritt now.
No.
Ramos.
Yes.
Cheryl.
No.
Basika.
Yes.
West.
No.
Anderson.
No.
Becerra.
No.
Contos.
No.
Harp.
No.
And Jones.
No.
Would any of you like to change your vote? That is 3 ayes and 7 noes.
And the motion to amend fails. Your third amendment, Ms. Wasika.
Thank you. So this is my final amendment. Thank you for bearing with me, everyone. I would like to allow home occupation. In Missoula, especially, it is very expensive to lease or buy a space to have your commercial business, regardless of what your commercial business is. So I would like to propose this amendment to allow home occupation to help allow small business ownership. It has also been said that we want residents to be within walking distance to stores. One of the reasons was to reduce carbon emissions. And these are probably going to be very popular establishments, whether we like it or not. So are going to be frequented by many folks. It's a legal business. We should not hinder such businesses to be in residential areas so that they are within walking distance. Thanks.
And that motion to amend is in order. Discussion on the motion. And is anyone waving a hand that I'm not seeing? Ms. West.
I don't think I raised my virtual hand first, but I'll go first, I guess. So I actually agree with the sentiment of Sandra's amendment. However, we spent a really long time talking about this in meetings leading up to what is and isn't allowed in the ordinance. And I think that on a state level, there isn't enough, I guess, not enough nuance to the permitting that is set up at this point, which means that, you know, manufacturing, for example, could be anything from extracting certain chemicals using a lot of solvents to, you know, baking, you know, like weed brownies. And there's no nuance, and both of those things do not belong in a home occupation setting equally, because one of them is very dangerous and could pose, you know, a significant risk to the occupants of the home and neighbors. And I think until maybe there is a finer degree of what gets licensed how, it's prudent to not allow these as home occupations, because there's a lot of, you know, risk for things like mold, fires, as we'll see with the next motion. These are very energy intensive uses, and not all homes are set up to carry the correct electrical load, for example. So I'm not going to support this for the time being, but I hope that in the future there are some things that maybe can be carved out to actually happen in a home that's compatible with, you know, a residential setting. So I'll leave it at that.
Ms. Merritt.
Thanks. I appreciate those points that Heidi just brought up, of reasons why that this shouldn't be a home-based business allowed under our zoning ordinance. Normally, the types of businesses that we allow as home-based businesses have little potential to impact the neighbors. And as I've seen with a constituent in Ward 6 who is being impacted by an existing home grow operation, the growing for commercial use doesn't appear to fall in that category of not affecting the neighbors. So for that reason, I won't be in support of this amendment. And the reasons that Heidi just mentioned, there's a time and a place for approval of home-based businesses in residential zoned areas, but I don't believe this is one of them.
Further discussion? Ms. Hart.
Thank you. Appreciate my colleagues' comments. Nice to be able to hear those other viewpoints. I'm going to side with Sandy on this. You know, the fact that it is legal creates an opportunity for some small businesses that may be doing businesses or may try and provide a business that is different from what we individually may want to see happen. And I can say that happens all the time. We recently approved another dog daycare in an adjacent neighborhood, and some neighbors were upset about that, and some were fine with it. And I think that's always going to be what we have to reconcile, is that some people are going to be upset and some are going to be fine with things. And I agree that this is an opportunity for those who want to be able to be a small business provider and do so on a small scale and take the precautions that they need to make sure that they stay safe as well as their surrounding neighbors. I think that's very, very key. And we can't just assume that they're going to do something that's going to destroy the character of a neighborhood or ruin a building for that matter.
Further discussion on the motion to amend? Ms. Vasika?
Thanks. I just wanted to thank my colleagues for their insight and their point of view on this. And if my amendment does fail tonight, then I look forward to looking at what we can do about this in the future.
Ms. Merritt?
I'd just like to clarify that the difference with the doggy daycare that we approved is that was actually in a location that is already zoned for businesses. What we're talking about here is allowing businesses to operate in residentially zoned areas. And there's a reason why we have residentially zoned areas. Because that's what we expect to happen in those places, is people to live there. We do have some exceptions for some home-based businesses. And obviously those are in the ordinance, but it's different than the doggy daycare situation. And I just wanted to clarify that.
Any further discussion? Anyone in the audience care to weigh in on the amendment? Seeing none, we will have a roll call vote on the motion to amend.
Okay, this is on the final amendment from Ms. Vasika regarding home occupation. Ramos.
Yes.
Cheryl.
No.
Vasika.
Yes.
West.
No.
Anderson.
No.
Becerra.
No.
Contos.
Yes.
Harp.
Yes.
Jones.
No.
Merritt.
No.
Would any of you like to change your vote? That is 4 ayes and 6 nays.
And that motion to amend fails. We are back to the main motion before the body, and I have a request of you all this evening. I received a call at about 5:30 this evening from local business, local cannabis business, asking that the effective date of the ordinance be moved to the 3rd of January. The effective date would be December 30th as it stands today. Reason for that request is as they work through their process for what is, it's the state's tier process. They believe the extra 2 business days would be critical for them to get through that state process to move forward. I told the constituent that I would be happy to ask council a council member to propose such an amendment. I spoke briefly with Aaron Pahan to help me understand if there were any significant unintended consequences of delaying the implementation or the effective date. She did not think that there were. The state's clock begins ticking in effect on January 1st, but in reality on the first business day, which will be Monday. And so if any council member is interested in making that amendment on behalf of the constituent, I would be grateful and happy to discuss. But that went well.
No, we have a bunch of us have our hands up. I was trying to get your attention.
All right, well, Ms. Cheryl, I heard you, so.
Okay, good. I would be happy to make that. I think that is completely reasonable, and if it helps them to get all their ducks in a row, I see no reason not to. So I'm happy to make the amendment to start on January 3rd for this resolution. Start on January 3rd.
Thank you, Ms. Cheryl. Ms. Cheryl's motion to amend is in order. And is there discussion on the motion? And I lost hands, so I need to see them up. I have Ms. Anderson.
Thanks so much. I see that Mr. Nugent is on. I don't know if Ms. Pahan is on. I know that there were some, we were under a time crunch to get this in because state law of this ordinance or this state law takes effect on January 1st, which I realize is a Saturday. So I just want to make sure that would love some insight into the kind of, state law and our ordinance, the 2-day gap. I realize that those aren't technical working business days, but just want to make sure that there isn't any unforeseen consequences. I know you asked this question at Ms. Pan before, and but love on the record for those of us who were in those conversations to have a tiny bit more insight. Just because I know there were some when we were discussing this ordinance earlier, so definitely wanting to align with the state implementation so that it was this ordinance could take effect.
And I can try to fill in a blank or two. So in this case, the constituent has filed all of their paperwork with the state. They believe that they can move through, and they've gotten initial approval at tier 1. There are 5 tiers. They believe that they can make their way through that tier system over the course of the month of December. But those 2 days they believe are critical in working with the state to get that done. If my conversation again with Aaron regarding unintended consequences, someone who is not already engaged in the process, as these folks have been, would have an extra 2 days, and I don't think those 2 days would make any difference for anyone who is not already in the process of establishing themselves as a medical marijuana grower and provider. Remember, the recreational piece doesn't kick in until later. So folks who are squared away with the state on January 1st are in a position to be recreational providers down the road, which apparently is that is the attractive part of this business for folks. So again, looking for anything that could happen based on those 2 days, apart from folks who are already deep in the process having another couple of days to work with the state. Seems unlikely that there's a consequence of significance to the public.
Can I have a follow-up?
Sure.
So I guess if our ordinance isn't taking into effect on Monday, given that, I guess I'm curious what work this constituent thinks that they're going to do with the state over Saturday and Sunday of that holiday weekend, to therefore ask for this, because our ordinance not take effect until the end of the day on the Monday the 3rd, or
the state ain't working on Saturday or Sunday, so there's nothing to be done there. It's the 2 business days, the Thursday and the Friday, that they're interested in. And I think you could certainly you could move the date to effective midnight on the 31st, watch the ball drop and all of that. And I think that would likely work as well. They're interested in that extra 2 business days at the end of the month.
Thank you for that clarification. That was the point I was missing on the 1st versus the 3rd. Thank you. Actually, it's the 30th and the 31st that they're interested in, not the 1st and the 2nd.
Correct.
Thank you.
So I guess along those lines, just because I don't know what the ramifications are of changing the effective date, I was wondering if it's just those 2 business days they want. I think I personally would feel more comfortable with having this be effective the 1st, which I realize is a Saturday, but that would be in line with the effective date of the change of state law. And I'm happy to defer to staff because I see Cassie turned on her camera, so I don't know if she has something to add, but that would make me feel more comfortable because it seems cleaner to have it be effective on the same day.
And I think that's fine as well. Mr. Hart.
Oh, I didn't have anything, just in case someone had questions.
Okay, thanks, Kathy. All right, further discussion on the motion to amend, Ms. Vasika?
I would be in support of Ms. Cheryl's amendment. Yeah, they aren't business days for city employees or a lot of businesses, but they probably are business days for this business. So any extra time that we could give them to get all their ducks in a row, I would be happy to give them.
Further discussion? Ms. Jones?
Thanks. So I think I am fine if we can have this effective on the 1st. I know that Jordan Hess, who is the chair of LUP, is not here tonight, and he had worked many hours on this and lots of consulting with staff, and staff did a huge job on this. And when he left, he said, we really need to get this done by the 1st. So if we can have it 12 a.m. starting on the 1st of January, so he doesn't have an aneurysm when he comes back from his vacation, I would really appreciate that if Ms. Cheryl will modify her amendment to specify that.
Ms. Cheryl?
So is that a friendly amendment, Gwen?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'm happy to take that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, the motion to amend before the body now is to have the effective date, 12:01 a.m., January 1. All right, further discussion on the motion to amend? All right. Anyone in the audience care to comment? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote on the motion to amend.
Okay, I've got the motion to amend recorded as to amend the effective date of the ordinance to 12:01 a.m. on January 1st, 2022. All right.
And my expectation is that Mr. Nugent will be monitoring the situation closely.
Yes, he can come down to the office and man the telephone. Let's see. I think we start this round. I don't even remember where we are. Jesse, did I start the last round with you?
You did, but yes.
Okay. Well, let's do Cheryl this time.
Yes.
Okay. Vasika.
Yes.
West.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes. Becerra.
Yes.
Contos.
Yes.
Harp.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes.
We've ruined the suspense. Ramos.
Yes.
All righty. That is 10 ayes and 2 absent.
And the motion to amend is approved. We are now back to the main motion as amended and discussion on that. Ms. Cheryl. Amber, you're muted.
Dang it. Thank you. I keep raising my hand thinking I can make some comments generally on it. And it's been a while, but on the motion in general, I just first want to say that I'm very happy that we're at a point in history that we're finally legalizing something that we have been completely unsuccessful at controlling, and that in the process of trying to has ruined countless lives, which I think my colleague Ms. Harp was alluding to earlier. That being said, I think it's a new thing, and I think we need to be thoughtful as we move forward. I've had colleagues suggest that voters voted for this and that we should not regulate it at all, which we had some discussion around that. I think that's short-sighted. But beyond that, you know, we're not talking about a toy store here. We're talking about a controlled substance. And I believe that voters expect us to treat it as such. I did struggle originally with whether these were the right regulations or not. I really don't want to see our downtown with a liquor store or a pot shop every block, but I think it could, because I think it could undo a lot of pretty incredible economic development that we've done down there. That being said, I do trust the thoughtful research that our team has done. I'm happy about the proposed buffers. I am a strong proponent of keeping the commercial cultivation operations out of homes and neighborhoods for the reasons that my colleagues outlined. I've talked to a number of people about this, and not one of them wants us to allow it. I think this would be a huge disservice to many of the constituents that we represent. I believe that businesses can easily be creative in providing privacy for their clients. One of my biggest concerns about this actually is the energy usage. And I just want to say that because it hasn't been brought up tonight, that we will be addressing the energy uses of these type of businesses. The plan is to address them in Title 15, so not in this resolution, but that will be coming. I will look forward to the staff having some time to do some research and bring back some thoughtful regulations there. So I just wanted to thank the staff again. I feel that this has been vetted very thoroughly. I think we are kind of in a new age and a new era, and you know, we can pivot if we need to pivot, but I think these are strong, well thought out plans going forward, and I'm glad we're finally legalizing this for all uses for adults.
Further discussion on the motion, Ms. Wasika.
Thanks. Unfortunately, I am going to have to vote no on this tonight. As one of my colleagues mentioned, that my amendments, while they did almost take up almost the entirety of the motion in general. If one of them would have passed, I probably would have supported this, but unfortunately none of them did. And so I have to follow through with my beliefs on this. I think it's too much government control on it, on something that's already controlled so much at the state level and the federal level. So I will not be supporting this motion tonight.
And any additional discussion? I don't see anybody waving at me. Anyone among the attendees care to comment? And seeing no hands there. By the way, the hands for the attendees were working, so participants weren't. So I'm confident that we actually don't have hands up there. With that, we will have a roll call vote.
And I can see them too. So if I saw them, I would definitely mention it. Wasika.
Really get to start. No.
West.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Contos.
No.
Harp.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes.
Ramos.
No.
Cheryl.
Yes.
Would any of you like to change your vote?
Yes, I would. This is Marty. This is Heather.
Okay.
I'm going to vote no.
Okay. That is 6 ayes and 4 nays and 2 absent.
And the motion is approved. And our second motion this evening, Ms. West.
All right, so this was alluded to by Ms. Cheryl already. So the last motion is to direct city staff to proceed with amendments to Title V, Missoula Municipal Code pertaining to business licenses and regulations to incorporate revisions regarding energy consumption for cannabis businesses. And if I could just briefly speak to it.
Ms. West.
I think that we had a really interesting discussion in committees, as did the county, related to the high energy use of especially cannabis growing. And I really look forward to seeing what city staff brings back. I think city licensing or business licensing is a more appropriate space in which to regulate energy consumption. Businesses apply for licenses from the city every year. It's a good place to check in And this is a more appropriate place for it than in our zoning code. So I look forward to seeing what they recommend, and hopefully we will get this on, whatever they recommend and whatever we decide on the books before the next round of business licensing this summer.
Further discussion on the motion? Mr. Ramos?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say that I'm not going to be supporting this tonight. I don't think it's the government's job to be regulating business energy consumption, not at all. We don't own the power grid. We don't own the generation. We don't own the distribution. That's between the customer and Northwestern Energy. City Hall uses a heck of a lot of power too. There's a lot of other businesses that use a lot of power, and I think it's ultimately left to the customer. And as we're going towards green energy, the market's starting to create more and more opportunities towards green energy. So I think that us getting in the way of customer and our citizens' decisions, whether or not to utilize those businesses, which in turn makes them consume more power, is between them and the business, and then the business and Northwestern Energy, whoever their energy provider is, to determine that. So I know this is kind of a preeminent move, but I'm still going to be supporting no or voting no on this. Thank you.
Ms. Merritt?
Thanks. I will be in support of this motion. I'm very glad to see it come forward, even though I won't ultimately get a chance to vote on the outcome if it comes to a public hearing, but I do appreciate the resolution directing staff to continue their hard work on this. I've had some good conversations with folks who were concerned that we were not going to make the energy regulation part of our zoning ordinance. But I believe that as Heidi mentioned, that the business licensing process is the right place to do it. It's the place where we're going to be able to monitor compliance. And it's the place where we'll get every business that's operating out there. If we do this through zoning, we're not going to have either of those things, and it would not be effective. If we want to move the needle on climate change, we have to take action, and that is what government is for. These are intense energy users that are different than the buildings that have lights and heating. It's a much more intense use. And I look forward to seeing what staff is able to find out as they work through this process. Thanks.
Ms. Becerra?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too will be supporting this part of the ordinance, and as research shows, we are one of the communities with the most dispensaries and businesses per capita in the country. And I think there's every expectation that with this legalization, this industry will grow exponentially. So I am very happy to see that we will take the right steps to regulate energy consumption. This industry is by no means equivalent to Bitcoin in terms of energy consumption, but it is certainly many, many times over what any regular business, city hall, city, county, courthouse, and many high density residential consumption is. So very happy that this is before us and happy to support it.
Ms. Anderson?
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. I also will be adding my support to this, as my other council members have already commented that this is an incredibly energy intense, high intensity industry. If you ask anybody who works for the energy power companies, be it Northwest Energy, be it a local co-op, they will absolutely be able to tell you who is a grow operation and the difference between somebody who just errantly leaves a lot of lights on in their house. It is that stark of a difference. And it is all of our responsibilities, government, individual citizens, to start shifting the paradigm of how we address climate change, because what we're doing to this point is not working. And so we took steps today to expand our capacity around climate initiatives with the budget that we approved approving the FTE in the budget process this year. And by continuing to direct staff to look at ways that we can, curb or try to do our part by where the opportunities that we have control is incredibly important. Just letting regulation and businesses do what they want, and that no control and the private sector will take care of itself, has gotten us to this point. And we have got to do something. Time is running out to change direction on this. And so I'm absolutely in support of this. I do think it is our responsibility as municipal government to be able to contribute to the solutions to this in big and small ways. And just sitting back and letting chips fall where they may is a recipe for disaster. And I do not fundamentally believe that that is our job, or what the majority of our constituents want from the Missoula City Council. So thanks so much.
And Ms. Vasika.
Thanks. I am going to side with my colleague, Mr. Ramos, on this one. I'm going to not be supporting this motion tonight. On top of everything that my colleague stated, I agree with everything that he said, but I also wanted to mention there was some public comment a couple of weeks ago about the how fiscally irresponsible it would be for the business to not be energy efficient, especially in this business, because it does use a lot of lights and a lot of energy in that way. So to have that extra layer of regulation of the government is just going to be hindering the businesses even more, because it will be in the business's best interest to consume less energy. So therefore, I will not be supporting this motion.
Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, anyone in the audience care to comment? Seeing none, we will have a roll call vote.
On the motion to direct staff west.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Becerra.
Yes.
Contos.
No.
Hart.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes.
Ramos.
No.
Cheryl.
Yes.
Vasika.
No.
Would any of you like to change your vote? That is 7 ayes and 3 nays.
And the motion is approved. We have no additional items for final consideration this evening, and we'll move on to communications from the mayor. I'd just like to note this evening the passing of Lois Herbig. Ms. Herbig served on the Missoula City Council for 20 years, the last 2 of which I served with her representing Ward 1. Lois was tenacious, kind, funny, and would stand up to anybody on anything. She was a person from whom I learned, a person who made a difference in her community, and some of you may have known her husband, Hal, who was a lovely man, an orchestra director, and they made quite a pair. So I want to acknowledge Lois's long service to this community and extend my condolences to her family, which I've done in a note, but if anybody happens to be watching this evening, or if you remember Lois, please acknowledge a great lady. We'll move on to general comments from council members with Mr. Contos starting us out.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No thanks.
Ms. Hart.
I'll pass tonight.
Ms. West.
I'll just follow up on the comments I made, I guess it's 2 Mondays ago, and say that the hula hoop workshop was awesome. And next time Parks and Rec hosts one, everyone should go. Hula hooping is for everybody.
Ms. Jones.
Thanks. First of all, I'm really glad you mentioned Lois Herbig. I always heard amazing things about her. And just this last summer, I ran into some of her relatives in Greeno Park. And I just hope we're all thinking of her. She made a lot of contributions to Missoula. I did want to take a couple of minutes and just follow up on some of the comments, Mr. Mayor, that you made earlier at the beginning of the meeting regarding development and land use decisions and the big brouhaha that's happened in the last few days. I wanted to note, first of all, that the comments made by the developer were reprehensible and certainly don't reflect my values. But it really triggered a much larger discussion. Setting aside the emotion from all of that, it triggered a much larger discussion in our community about affordable housing, about what we can and can't do. And I appreciated your comments earlier. I wanted to say that land use decisions that council must make, this is the most complicated area that we work in. And we do hours and hours of onboarding, and then you still continue to learn. And it's very complicated, and we need a lot of legal advice. So first of all, it's a thing. This is very complicated, and I don't expect the regular public out there to understand it. However, I do think a big part of being on city council is communicating with constituents and passing along the information when they have questions and educating them as to how things work and reasons why or why not we did something. So to that end, I know that several city councilors are working on an op-ed, and hopefully that's published on Wednesday, spelling out our decision space in terms of rezoning a private property and our decision space that frankly we don't have in terms of influencing how development is done on private property by a private developer. It's complicated. We constantly are working through these issues. And as the mayor referenced, a lot of this is dictated by federal law, state law, and our local regulations. And we don't have a magic wand to go in and just make something be affordable because we want to do it. It's much more complicated. And that's why we work really, really hard. The last few years on council, huge amount of energy has gone into affordable housing. We are at the local level with frankly, very small tools. And I think the bigger discussion around all of this is that we desperately need state and federal tools and money to come in if we really want to make Missoula more affordable. So I want people to know that I think, sorry, my lights keep going out. I want people to know that council takes it very seriously and works very hard on this. I have college-age kids who most probably will not return to Missoula because they can't afford to live here. So just because I'm older doesn't mean I don't get it. I see it through my kids' eyes. I think everyone on council is very conscientious about it. We work hard on it. But keep in mind, we need those federal and state dollars to come in. And also, if people want to lean in and understand how land use decisions are made, I think counselors are happy to educate them and have that conversation with them. So look for the op-ed. It's hard fitting this huge subject into 600 words, but it's a start. Thank you.
Ms. Merritt.
Thanks. I'm gonna change the topic and remind folks that this coming Saturday, December 4th, is the reverse parade of lights in an effort to be respectful of our need to continue to social distance. The floats will be lined up on the street on Higgins Avenue, and people are invited to stroll downtown or drive downtown and get a good look at the lights and the window decorations, enjoy a cup of cocoa. I am looking forward to that. I understand that the tree is already being lit up down by the X's every evening at 6 p.m. So I just encourage people to come down, enjoy the holidays in downtown Missoula. Thanks.
Mr. Ramos.
I will pass. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Becerra.
Thank you. I just wanted to wish our Jewish members of the community a very happy Hanukkah. Today's the second night of Hanukkah, so much peace to everyone.
Ms. Cheryl.
Thanks, and I want to echo the mayor's comments and Gwen's comments. I'm not going to belabor that fact, but I about I think Gwen said reprehensible comments. I found out about some of the online chatter from my 16-year-old this weekend, and you can imagine, anyone that actually read it, that I was not so thrilled about that. In light of that, I just want to remind people that civil discourse, whether you're talking to someone or whether you're online, is going to bring a better outcome for everyone.
Ms. Anderson.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. I also want to echo your comments, Ms. Jones and Ms. Cheryl. I was trying to be off-grid for Thanksgiving, and I was unsuccessful with that because of the number of folks who've reached out to me in regards to this. And I share Ms. Jones's sentiment that the comments were absolutely reprehensible and do not reflect my values. And having almost been 4 years on council, I will say land use decisions are some of the hardest ones we make because of the lack of decision-making box. We in Montana are a property rights state, and with that comes a whole lot of regulations set forth by the state legislature. So I know my colleagues and I are working through the numerous comments that we have received over the course of the last several days to get back to folks. I appreciate everyone taking the time to reach out to us. I would, however, really appreciate if everyone who took the time to reach out to us at the city council also reached out to their local state legislator. They need to hear the same comments from you all and have these petitions directed in their direction, because so much of the decision-making box that we are able to govern in here at the local level is decided at the state level. And that's not just us being lack of creativity, it is the law. And we, we take it up, an oath to uphold it. And we do try to, when opportunities arise, such as the Reed project needing to have a bit of right-of-way to complete their project, as the mayor said, they needed something from us. So in exchange, we were able to ask something of them and condition that, not the zoning, but the right-of-way vacation, and ask for affordable housing be a component of that overall project. Where we find those opportunities, we act on them. In a straight up-down rezone, can't put any conditions on it. It's not our regulations, that's the state regulations. I have many friends who are state legislators. They do not hear from constituents on land use planning issues like we do. And so to help us help you, please reach out to them and voice those concerns and let them know your frustration. And this last legislative session was awful in terms of the Republican-led legislature taking away the ability for a community like Missoula to make more decisions based on things happening directly in our community. And we are the local, the most accessible form of government, but yet, the ability to condition affordable housing taken away. The ability to take into consideration, maybe at some point in time, we should include inclusionary zoning in our regulations if we so wanted to, taken away by the legislature. So this is not me passing the buck. This is me asking you to please take the time to reach out to your state legislators and ask for them to, share your frustrations and let them know how you feel some of the things that we are doing, because we're legally bound to, is affecting the overall community. So thank you so much.
And Ms. Wasika.
Thanks. I wanted to join Ms. Becerra in wishing everyone a happy Hanukkah. And I wanted to remind folks that local businesses were hit really hard last year and this year. And especially with the supply chain issues for a lot of the big box stores, it provides a great opportunity to shop local for all of your Hanukkah and Christmas and other holiday shopping needs. So please try to support your community and your neighbors this holiday season. Thanks.
Thank you all. We have no committee reports this evening. We have no items of new business. Are there any additional items to be referred? Ms. Hart?
Not a referral, but just I was just reminded of a recent sorry, a recent magazine that showed up in my mailbox. It's called On Common Ground, and it's all covers addressing the housing shortage. Each of our colleagues around this table received a copy of it. If you, as a public member of the public, are interested in reading this very magazine, it's from the National Association of Realtors. I'm sure that our Missoula Organization of Realtors has copies at their desk that they would be probably very happy to share. Inside of it is filled with various different strategies that communities like ours can actually take up without necessarily having to go all the way to the state level. There are things that our local municipality can enact that can make really significant change here on the local level. I encourage all of my colleagues to read it cover to cover, because if housing is our number one concern, and I know it is for all of us here, we got it in. I ask, please pick it up, read it through, because there are gems in here that we can really actually enact and put to work and really make a difference for our community. Thanks.
So we leapt ahead to miscellaneous communications, reports, petitions, and announcement. And the vacuum is now running in my outer office. So thank you all, as always, for your service, and we will be adjourned.